Stretching. Hey,
Oh,
I should have
oh,
sent
and
you a video.
Stevie's
There's
joining
someone lying
in.
down in
Yay,
Sweden.
go
What is
Stevie.
this? What is this? Yes, you do cutest. You're the cutest. You want to come and say hello? Hop up. Yeah.
Right, let's see. Have we
Oh,
got anybody with us? We've got a few. LJ's here. We've gone
I,
back to a time that I think is better for you, LJ. So,
let's
yeah.
not lick Mum's face.
Stevie, you're such an idiot.
Wow.
Lisa!
Hey,
Yay!
Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. Hi, Mum Rick.
What? Help!
You're on your own with that particular vicious monster.
Mm. You are a licky monster. Oh, she's quite rough, girl.
Yeah, she is.
Oh,
But she's
girl.
lush,
Yeah, she is. Okay, how about you go and lie
even if
down?
she is an attack dog.
She totally is.
Look at her. She's so
And then
funny.
when she climbs on your lap, she uses her head and she kind of puts it under your chin for leverage. And she like works herself up. It's rather uncomfortable. Okay, can we get you on your hot zone now? That's a good girl. Lovely.
Super little dog. Oh, she's gone. Just me then. Welcome,
yeah,
everybody. How are you? I hope you're all well. Do feel free to say hello, give us a wave, give us a thumbs up, whatever you want. And yeah,
take anything at this point.
whatever.
Just had a good
There's
cry.
people there. This is so much nicer than last week when we felt a little bit lonely, to be honest. It was just a bad time, though. That's not blaming you guys, obviously, because you're amazing, but it was a little bit weird when you haven't got people there. Now we've got
Yay!
Carmela, awesome with your wins in the last week.
Yes,
Woo, woo.
raise the roof.
Good
Raise
on
the roof,
you.
Carmela.
Amazing. So everybody give Carmela a bit of love for being amazing and having wins with the delightful hops.
Turn this off. I had us mumbling in stereo, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Goody, goody, goody. Okay, so today
Mm-hmm.
we talk about routines and things, right? Being unpredictably predictable or predictably unpredictable.
Unpredictable. Either way, it's all good. So, yeah. I mean, it's all about really, isn't it? It's about getting to calm from chaos. Oh, we've got Shawnee here as well.
Hey, Shawnee.
Carmela's loving the love. Just you wait till you see us in person.
Oh, yeah. How many hugs?
Oh dear. Brilliant. Yeah, so how to go from that calm to chaos and
Yeah.
helping your dog and yourself to stop feeling so much overwhelm.
I have a pineapple question.
Lovely. We love a pineapple question. Barbara's back on it again.
Anybody feel that it's a little bit chaotic lately? If you do, give us a pineapple. Are things feeling a little bit chaotic lately?
I'm just having a look for the pineapples. Here we are.
I should put a pineapple in there.
Is that a pineapple yet? I'm going to put lots of pineapples. It's funny, just before we came on, we were just having a little chat, and I'm feeling seriously overwhelmed. Not with the dog so much, just part of it's dog related, but it's not behavior related. But I just feel massively overwhelmed at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right, Shawnee. At least we have more lovely people this week.
Woohoo! I feel so good. Patricia on a Spanish phone. Excellent.
Yay!
But it's working beautifully.
At least it can type English. Right. So if you guys, we had actually look at this. Look at this.
What?
It's only us. It's only you and I. No, thank you.
Oh no, Patricia's with us.
Thank you.
Lisa's feeling overwhelmed. Lisa's feeling 3 pineapples worth. I've got 5 pineapples worth. Barbara's got 4. I think you guys, do you know what, Carmela? I so need lots of love at the moment.
Yeah, and Bodhi is snoring in bed still. That's good for him. Good for you,
That's
LG.
perfect. Perfect, perfect.
Right. Okay, so okay, well,
I think you've got it right, LJ.
that's what I want to be.
Surely, what was the question? She's still asleep.
Do you have any chaos in your life, Shawnee? Any chaos at all? Give us a pineapple. Absence of pineapple means utter bliss, no chaos. I have a lot of chaos in my life.
Sue's pineappling as well.
And you know, this, I mean, there's like too many balls in the air.
Yeah.
There's that work-wise, but the real and I find it's just it gets so overwhelming so quickly. And then the other chaos I have is when my dogs are all in the same room. However, having said that,
So far, so good.
I have all three and all three are snoozing right now.
Do you know the
And
other thing though? Because my default setting, like when I'm feeling, I get that overwhelm feel.
mm,
I'm gonna say something that's a little bit of a lie, but it's something that I want to be true. So when I feel overwhelmed, I go out for a walk. And I do really consciously try to do that. And it's nice if I can just walk a dog. But of course, if your dog is contributing to the overwhelm with their behavior on walks, it doesn't help particularly. Or I
no,
mean, I would still go out for a walk by myself without the dogs in that case and try really hard not to feel guilty about that. Um,
very true.
but yeah. Are you taking a photo? Oh, hello.
Okay, hang on.
Hang on,
Can you
hang
see
on.
me? Yeah, you can see me, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
see you.
So hang on, but I don't want you to see me. How can I turn it? Or maybe I just do this. So I want to show you.
Hello, little one.
Be quiet, she's sleeping.
Hello, big lad.
And then,
Oh, look.
yeah.
Oh, Suling.
I just wanted to like show off a little bit. Okay, so
Yeah.
look. How do I go
I
back
don't
now?
blame you. Oh, hi, Nicole from Canada. So Sue's been on holiday with Remy and totally overwhelmed him with new animals and birds. Holidays can be super challenging,
Totally.
especially when you're supposed to be relaxing.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going on holiday in a few weeks.
Me
And
too.
Barbara's going to be there. Yeah, Barbara's going to be there. So my plan is if my dogs feel overwhelming, I'll give them to Barbara and then I can relax. See how we go. They should be
Yeah.
fine. It's going to be
Yeah.
great. I can't wait.
So I mean, there's a bunch of things. I'm learning to take stuff off my plate and not feel bad about it. So
It's hard, isn't it? It's
I've
that
just
saying no thing. We're all people pleasers, aren't we?
yeah. So I got a nice I read a nice piece of Buddhist guidance, and that is like it's not about being perfect. We know this. The Buddha doesn't mean perfect. It just means seeing potential in everything. Always trying
Yeah.
to, how can I turn this to an advantage? And then sometimes it just means, well, I can't do this. I can't do everything, right? I was seriously overwhelmed yesterday, too many different things, and then I had to cancel some.
Yeah.
And then, and normally I
But
would
good
then
for
feel
you for
bad.
cancelling.
Well, number one is the canceling. Number two is not to feel bad about having canceled, right?
Yes, that's
And that's
true.
where that's where this guidance really came in because it's all about appreciation. It's all about not appreciation of things outside of you, but appreciation for yourself. Like you fail, you can still appreciate me. Appreciation is no judgment, right? It's just it is what it is. We'll try again, right? And canceling isn't failing. Canceling just meant, took on too much. Sorry, I have to do it another time. Anyway, that's that. And then there is chaos in my house because I have three very energetic pups, as you just saw. But I do. So these are rare moments, all of them in the same room, snoozing like that. And then today we talk about routines and things, and our routine got seriously burgled today. Burgled is not the right word.
Burgled is a good
Bungled?
word. Stolen, ruined,
Yeah, I know. Burgled means stolen, but bungled?
bungled will do.
Anyway, it's the word that comes. Anyway, so because John left on a field trip today, so there was car packing going on yesterday. And then and then we wanted to go for the last walk because he takes the car that we normally take to go into the dunes. So on, so it was now for 2 weeks, there are no walks like that. But I found a different area that I can take them to. And then this morning he left and I overslept. So, like the routine is disturbed.
Totally.
And then
Totally.
super
Do you
excited. And then
usually have like a pretty good routine?
in the morning,
Mm.
my mornings are probably where I have the best routine. Yeah.
What about everyone that's watching? Do you guys have a good morning routine? Are you pretty predictable in the mornings?
How about you, Julia?
I think I'm relatively predictable on weekdays, but it all goes out the window on the weekend.
Mm.
And of course, the dogs don't understand about weekends. They're pretty good, actually. They're pretty, they kind of chill through it pretty well. Um, but yeah, I think my mornings are quite relatively predictable, but they're not like set in stone.
Yeah, that's true. They're not set in stone, and also the times are not always 100% the same.
Yeah.
But okay, let's see what people say.
So Shawnee's been doing sniffy walks with Kelby on a loose leash around where I live, trying to stay away from triggers. Been going well. This is new for us. You know how much I love a sniffy walk. They're the best. Really cool. So
I
anybody else?
normally, yeah, we'll wait. I
Just
will
wondering if
wait.
anyone else has predictable mornings with their dogs.
Yeah. So a big part of my predictable morning routine is that it it includes both downtime for the dogs. So when I get up, the dogs the two youngsters stay in their kennels when I get up,
Yeah.
which to me is an important skill that they can do that. And then I do my meditation, and then I go to the gym, and I may take dogs out in between that, but not always the same time. I kind of
Yeah.
do it. There's rustling in the kennels, they're waking up, whatever. Might take them out for a quick wee. And when the puppies are really young, then I might have a short training session, but at the moment I don't do that. And then when I come back, then there is a moment where chaos can erupt.
Yeah.
And then things are kind of different. So sometimes not, so we practice then calm returns. Um, and then, which with the boys is actually getting quite good now. And then sometimes we go for a walk straight away. So then the dogs go into the car in a particular order. And sometimes, depending on where John's at, we might have a coffee first and then go out. And if then all dogs are up and in the kitchen area with us, then chaos can erupt because they're now all rested and they're ready to go and they're wondering why we're not going for the walk now. So then I use a combo of management with gates and stuff, so they're not all in the same space because the two youngsters don't bring out the best. They kind of exacerbate each other's excitement, and they might all get a licky, like a Kong or something with some peanut butter into, just chill a bit. And then we go for our walk. And when we come back from the walk, then it can be quite chaotic again, because again, they're all together, they've just ridden, yes, but still they're not then calm. So then
Yeah.
when we come back from the walk, and then I'm often, rushing to get on the Zoom with you or getting into my classrooms to coach or whatever. And then so that's again, first we have brekkies. We have breakfast after the work, the humans, not the dogs. So then often, this is when they get a chewy or a licky again, so they can settle a little bit. And then we all go in the study, and then that normally sometimes I have to use a bit of management so they're not all in the same room, but then they're kind of chilled, like what you saw just now. But today they got interrupted because John is gone and they were super excited, and Stevie was, and I'd already said to John, I can't take all three dogs together all the time. Stevie needs to learn not to roam quite so far, and it's very exciting always when I need to build more value for me.
Yeah.
And then she was the one that was so high that normally she goes straight to the garage. She was running around the yard, whatever. So I said, you know what? We go in the garage. And then the boys were already in the car. So I did a quick training session with her. And then she went into her kennel and I left and I walked the boys. And then coming back, of course, she wants to come out of the kennel. So then I swapped them. Then she came out and then Falky went in. And she had a training session, and then since then I did some work, and then I swapped them over again, and now they're all here. And now it's kind of, that's why I was so proud of the fact that they were all snoozing in the same room, because when they're all together and they've now woken up, then, you know, the one goes and like, let's play, la 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 la, and then Falky will go and try to wake up Noah and move him, da 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 da. But that is sort of what my morning, so until lunchtime, it's normally pretty unpredictably routined. Afternoons are completely different.
Exactly. Yeah. I
Okay,
get.
so
I hear you.
got a bunch of things.
We've got a whole heap of comments. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Brilliant.
Effie's mornings are very predictable. Sue says predictable, but time changes depending on weather. Yeah.
That's an excellent point. I was just reading that one and I was thinking, because we're due to get some warmer weather from about sort of Wednesday-ish, which means that my morning routine will change. Because what normally happens is Matt gets up at some ridiculous time in the morning. I'm still asleep. And he doesn't feed the dogs, he doesn't go into the dogs, he just leaves them. And then I go into the dogs when I get up. They go out for a little into the garden for their little wee break. While I get set up with my gym stuff. And then they will have their breakfast while I do my little workout, and then we'll sit down and do some work, and we tend to go out for a walk a little bit later. But of course, because it's going to be hot, I'm going to have to get up and take them out for a walk straight away before it gets too warm for them.
Exactly. And also says gardening first thing while cool, right? So that already turns things a little bit. And then the dog eating time says and keep that predictable. And then Camilla, that's a good point here. Camilla says, mine gets stressed when I pack my caravan. So I pack a little bit every day. So it's now part of the routine.
Awesome. Love that.
Good, yeah. And Lisa says, our mornings generally follow a predictable pattern or routine, but it's not always exactly at the same time every day. Brilliant.
Yeah.
And Shawnee says, our routine changes depending on the time of year. Yep. I'm off work for the summer. This week will be different. Husband is off the next 2 weeks. We're going on holiday. Yay.
Woohoo! Hope you're going somewhere lovely.
So, you know how we say predictably unpredictable or unpredictably predictable? I actually think that's easier than you think, because
it really is, isn't it?
Yeah, because life is hardly, I mean, okay, well, look, there are people who are super, by the clock, or have to have things always in the same way, right? So, and LG just says, Bodhi and I thrive on routine. Unpredictability isn't our thing. And why do we say unpredictably predictable or predictably unpredictable? Why do we say that, Julia? Do you want to talk?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So, I mean, our dogs love predictability, especially our type of dogs, so our sensitive and reactive dogs. Because when things are unpredictable, they're constantly vigilant, what's happening next, blah, blah, blah. And that's going to lead to stress. So it's like waking up every day, not knowing when or where your next challenge will come from. And for our dogs, that's huge. So the predictability gives them that safeness. It gives them that structure that they know what's going to happen next. However, this is where the unpredictably predictable comes in.
Yeah.
Because the problem is, if everything's very regimented, so let's say I fed my dogs at 6:30 every day. And then one day I was not feeling great and I was going to be late or I got held up or something happened that meant I couldn't feed them at 6:30. And they'd be like, well, what's happened? Why am I not being fed now? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Another example would be with our dogs, that dogs that are more reactive on walks, but it can be the same for dogs that get super excited on walks. If every time you go, you pick up your keys, you put your shoes on, and you put your get your dog's lead out, you're going for a walk. That means that excitement, that prediction, if you've got a reactive dog, that worry, that anxiety will build up with the prediction of the thing that's going to happen more than the thing itself. So if we're a little bit more unpredictable and every now and again might pick up the lead and then not go anywhere or just do some training at home instead, that's going to help keep them calmer when you actually are going for a walk.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we mean. We want a structure, but we don't want to be slaves to it.
Yeah. And so routines are really good, but we don't always want to have it regimented. Also because people, the dogs are so good at predicting.
Yeah.
And if this always follows that, then that becomes this. How clear was that?
I always, do you know the analogy that I always give? Because this is so true for me. And I think have I given it before? I can't remember if I've done it in the life. But the analogy I like to give is when you go to a theme park and you're going to go on the big roller coaster. And I went through a phase where I didn't go on any roller coasters, and then my son made me. Okay. So, and I was standing in the queue, and I knew that standing in the queue for the roller coaster meant that the roller coaster ride was definitely going to happen because it always did. Now I realised I could have backed out, but I'm way too stubborn for that, so that wasn't going to happen. And I could feel my heart going like a million miles an hour. And I was so stressed because I was thinking, oh my God, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. I'm going to hate it. It's going to be scary. I might fall out, blah, 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 blah. So I'm predicting all this stuff. When I actually got on the ride, I was actually quite calm. So the anticipation and the predictions, sorry, Stevie's just hilarious, was far more stressful for me than the actual thing itself. So that's the analogy that I like to use.
Yeah. And I've lost my train of thought.
Exactly, Shawnee, the thing before the thing.
So if we the time span gets shorter and shorter. Like if you let your dog out, say you always go for a walk at 6 o'clock, right? And sure, there's a chain of predictors, like all the things that you've just described. Sorry, right? But then I sit at my desk, and then I get up, and then I get ready, and I put my shoes on, and I get the lead out, and that whole chain of events, and then we go out for a walk. And it happens at 6 o'clock, right? And the dogs know magically, they have clocks inside their bodies. They know it's 6 o'clock.
They do.
But then they wait, right?
Even when the clocks change, they seem to know.
They know. But they also know when it's 6:15. Right? So they start to come and say it's time for our walk earlier and earlier and earlier. Have you noticed this?
Yeah.
They don't wait until it's 6 o'clock and then they come and bug you. They ask earlier and earlier and earlier.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah, and they're trying to get things a little bit earlier and a little bit earlier, or if you've got that dog, especially when they're little and they're waking up in the night, so they're waking up at the same time every night because they know that when they wake up in the night, you'll get up and some interesting, exciting things will happen. So then what they do is they try and wake. So you've got to preempt them and get
Mm,
up before them. So there's
yeah,
that
yeah,
prediction chain
exactly.
doesn't start.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you can start moving it backwards.
And Elgina also says we don't stick to the set schedule, but there's a predictable flow to our days. This allows us to
That's
relax
right.
and deal with whatever might arise. And that is precisely what predictably unpredictable means, right?
Yeah,
And I think it's
exactly.
actually, for most people, much easier than to create a super fixed schedule. Of course, there are people that need things to be just so, very rigid, and that's also okay, right? We can always work around if that gives a problem with your dog, right?
Yeah, because there are
But
other things that you can change to make it the
mm,
predictability less predictable.
exactly, just on Wednesdays you always do it this way, and on Thursdays you always do it that way, or whatever.
Exactly.
So we can still have how is it work with that. And then the other thing, as you said, is the dogs need to learn to handle a certain amount of change as well, right? So if everything is always the same, then the one time something is different, it's like super stressful for them. So we need to, we want to keep them safe and comfortable and all of those things, but we need to have a little bit of change. And ideally, we do that in a controlled and controlled is the word I was looking for. Yeah, a controlled way, right? So that it's not throwing us all under the bus.
Because
Anyway,
that routine and that predictability, it still gives the dog that safety as well. So
mm,
it really is a balancing act between safety and being rigid.
yeah, yeah. So, and then there are scenarios like our walks, right? Where the calm rituals and predictable transitions and things like that, they are relatively easy when we have the most control over the environment, say at home, right? We can always do a certain thing before we leave, or we can always have a little routine before we get in the car, things like that. But
Exactly.
when we don't have so much control over the environment, that is when the power of those routines really hit. So I was saying to John a couple of days ago while we were walking that he needs to remind me to always ask for a behavior, ideally a control position, before I let the dogs go after a recall. Right? And they come. And I always say in my classes, because okay, I'll stray a little bit, but you know how many people teach a recall, call the dog comes, sit, get a cookie.
Yes.
One of my pet peeves.
Me too. We haven't talked about this either, but that does my head in, yeah.
And I mean, here you are out and about, the dog is having the time of their lives in the woods or running or whatever, sniffing, right? And we call them. Okay, well, we need to teach them to call it no matter what. Yes, 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 but it has to be worth their while, right? And for a sit, and then they get a biscuit. It's just so killjoy, has it written all over it. So then in my class, I always say like, no, 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 hand, I just do a collar grab. So that, and I teach a
Yeah.
collar grab. That is one of the uses of the collar grab, and then you can send them out to go play again. And that's true. But also, some of you might know this little thing. The dogs do flybys. You call them, they come, but they don't really stop. They
Yeah.
just go fly by and go off again, right? And I don't want that either.
Mhm.
So when that sort of sets in, then I realize, okay, well, we have for you to earn permission to run off again. And that is slightly different. So the dogs come, and I might get, I might do collar grab and a cookie. And then I might ask for something, and it could be a sit, it could be just a hand target, it could be a middle, right? I mean, it depends where I'm at with the dog. It could be a down. With Falky, I do a lot of down these days, which is
Yeah.
beautifully. But anyway, that's another story. And it can be something really easy peasy. When I'm by the water, when Noah has permission to go into the water, and I try to call him out and send him in again, That's the worst of those flybys because he doesn't even come near me because he finds it so hard.
Yeah.
He's so cool when I walk. He keeps looking at me. Can I go? Can I go? Can I go? And then if I allow him to go in, then he's in the water and he's having it, but then calling him out and sending him back in again is really hard for him. So I'm not asking him for much, right? In that scenario, it's really just come close and then, now you can go again. Because I have to build value for him coming in. Anyway, long story short, so what I was, that's a ritual. The thing with you come in, we do something you enjoy, and then you get to run off again, and that becomes the reward for doing the thing that you already enjoy.
It's like a win-win, isn't it? You cannot lose in that scenario.
Yeah,
Super.
totally. So we can create some kind of predictable pattern inside of a situation and an environment that is totally unpredictable. Because when the dogs are off leash on a walk, or even if you're on leash on a walk, anything can happen, right? We can
Exactly
walk into a Yeti,
So what we're talking about really is having structure. It's not about that control. It's not about the we do this, we do this, we do this. It's about having a structure. And it's about giving your dog that clarity. And it's one thing I've heard you say, that clarity is kindness. And so they know, they know exactly what their life looks like and what the structure of their life looks like. And that's something that we can build, and that is something that will help with the, build that calmness, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So
Barbara's written a blog this week. We're writing loads of blogs at the moment, actually. So I'll put a link to the blog. So if you want to read that, that will give you some more insight. I'll just bob that in the chat. Hi, Lou. So yeah, do feel free to have a look at that blog. We have a couple of questions now, so we should probably
let's go to
those. That's okay. Okie dokie. Question numero uno. Oh, but next week we're looking at confidence. We're looking at building it, protecting it, and why confidence is far more powerful than control.
Yeah, Falky, why? Because Noah is being the only one who's good is Noah, and you shouting at him. No, I don't need to be climbed out. No, I don't think so.
She just has too much love in her life.
She's just too sweet.
My two are just snoozing. But they are in separate rooms, I have to admit. I put them in separate rooms.
Well, can you lie down here and leave Noah alone? That's a good boy.
So yeah, Dash hasn't been very well, which is one of my big stresses at the moment. Right, question 1 from Mary Beth. Along with many other things, my Sheltie hates passing the occupied pickleball court. I looked that up, so I know what pickleball is now. It's kind of a Tennessee badminton-y, massive ping pong kind of game. Anyway, he's on alert, listening for the sound. As soon as we approach the park it's in, he starts to react hundreds of feet away. He also has a funny response to shoes others are wearing as they pass by, especially Crocs, but also certain bright colours. He used to react to certain shoes in the house as well as bright coloured socks like yellow. Interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
You just pointed out that the link doesn't work. I think it's a shortened version. That's fine.
Is it? Okay. I'll look at that.
So, Mary, I don't know, Mary, are you here? Send us put a heart in the chat if you're here. So the first thing that pops into my head when I read this or hear this is that, can you get back on your thing? Is that Shelties are a herding breed, and the pickleball court is probably there are probably balls there, flying objects, and what we were saying earlier on about predicting. So the dog already knows, he can hear the sound from afar and knows there were things going this way, which is stimulating. Even if he doesn't ever get to chase the balls properly, right? Just seeing the balls flying is very stimulating. Okay, guys, are you running behind the gate now?
So yeah, that's definitely one thing. It could be, that he's struggling with the noise. There's all sorts of things that could be going on. I think just the fact that, that breed specific herding movement focus is going to be really important. But there might be other things paying into that as well. So the sorts of things you would have to do about that is if he's reacting 300 feet away, okay, say, because you said hundreds of feet away, what's he like 400 feet away? Could you do some training there? Is that something you could do? Like Barbara says, do some really joyful things that he loves to do anyway. So I think that's what I'm doing. The other thing I would consider is, like you said, Barbara, is about that predictability. When you're going there, are you going there the same way every time? Can you mix up your route a little bit, see if that makes a difference? Because sometimes if you just changing that picture very slightly can make all the difference. But I would still keep him, below that threshold and try and get him thinking and doing stuff in that sort of green and ambery zone before you, and not get into the red. The more you rehearse that behavior, the more it's going to carry on happening. I'll just carry on while Barbara's herding her particular herding dogs. So yeah, I think that's probably right. In terms of
Yeah.
the shoes and the bright colours and the socks, it's interesting that yellow was mentioned because dogs don't have the same colour perception that we do. They don't have the red rod in their eyes. They've only got the yellow and the blue, so they can only perceive things in yellow, blue, and combinations of the above. So that's something that's kind of like, whoa, to them, which is pretty interesting. Feet when you're a little dog can be a bit of an issue, can't they? They even can when you're a big dog if you've had some bad experiences. But if you think about being a little dog, which a Sheltie still is a pretty little dog, and there's lots of, situations where there's lots of people around, you've got feet in your face all the time. So you can see if the dog's a little bit nervous, that's going to be a bit of a worry. Plus, they're moving. So what's a Sheltie to do?
Stop.
Nip the ankles, because that's their job. It's, it's what they want to do. They're programmed, aren't they?
And the thing is, it's good that you mentioned a couple of these things earlier about how confident is the dog, because I know that Stevie, for example, will nip when she's very stressed and worried. So she's not like overly in love with people. Once she knows people, she's totally like so too much love. But she's shy with strangers. And then if that gets pushed, if there is a person too close to her space, then the way that will manifest is that she nips ankles or feet, sort of feet. And she also loves Crocs, but this is around the house. So she loves to pick up Crocs and chew bits out of them.
Yeah.
So that's typical puppy behaviors. And I suppose older dogs also like to chew things for the same reason.
And I suppose the thing with a Croc, because they're relatively solid and they're quite chunky, if she's accidentally got clipped by one and stuff, that's going to feel very specific rather than a trainer, which is going to be a bit softer.
Oh, the Crocs are quite soft.
Are they? I haven't got any. I wouldn't know.
They're very light. They're very light, and they're like a chew toy. Totally like a chew toy. They're very easy to destroy.
So yeah, it's probably that. Yeah. She wants it and she wants to play with it.
I hope that helped, and I completely agree with your training steps.
And then we've got Elizabeth's question.
Yeah.
So they've got guests coming for 4 nights on August the 20th. So you've got time to prepare. Hooray for you. Teddy barks non-stop at visitors while they're here, although she will settle down if they sit and don't move a muscle, which is a bit restrictive after a while. What do you recommend I do over the next 2 months to help her with this? We're quite remote, have very few visitors, which definitely makes things more difficult. She's working through the reactivity roadmap, which is great.
No, it doesn't talk about this specific issue.
No.
That is still to come. But so I would recommend a few strategies, and Julia will chime in because I'm sure she's got a couple other layers as well. Number one, I would teach Teddy to be happy to be sent into another room. So that option, should it be necessary, either to be less restrictive for your guests or for her to have a break, so that is a possibility, right? So I would practice. You go into this room with a Chewy in your nice bed, and you just stay here and you are happy, and start building that up while you're around. That's number one. The other thing I would do in parallel is I would practice being calm in whichever space. Teddy tends to get super excited when the people come in. So for some dogs, it works to be outside and then they come in and the people are already seated. So
Yeah.
that's an option. And you could maybe do set up a couple of trial runs once you have some of the training that we're going to talk about. Once you have that, have worked on it, you could maybe get some friends or somebody just even for 10 minutes, if you're remote, but you know what I mean, just do some dress rehearsals to see what works best, because for some dogs that works really well. For some dogs it works really well to meet the guests outside. For my dogs it's a nightmare. So the more space, the wilder the things get. And if I have them on a lead or what, the frustration level is like really high. For other dogs, that works really well. What you want is a strategy that keeps arousal low. And you want to rehearse this first without the trigger and then gently introduce the trigger. So what worked in my house really well is practicing when I come home, practicing when John comes home, and practicing when nobody comes home, just being calm in the entrance hall. Just standing calmly, eating cookies off the floor, that sort of thing. So that would be another layer. And then I would definitely be prepped with chews that she can enjoy either in the presence of the guests or in her sanctuary.
Yep. The other things that I would do, I'd have a look in your Finding Your Footing course and have a look at step 4, creating optimism. So there's some nice games in there that build that confidence with things that move, things that make a noise. Now, it's not people, it's other stuff. But if you switch up the other stuff that you're getting them used to a lot, it's going to help generically with that confidence. So specifically the ACE free work, that's going to really help with confidence, with novelty, with things that are new, like new people coming to the house. The Kabul chaos, that's going to help with movement. But I would go through that step 4. I think that's going to be crucial in finding your footing. The other thing that I would do is I would work on human movement. So that can be your movement or other people's movement, and making it less important. So, and you can do that with just you. If you get visitors and they're fairly well trained visitors, you can do this with them as well. While she's, pop her on a lead or put some management in place at the same time. But the thing with dogs is that, human movement is hugely important to them. It can mean something scary, like if you've got visitors, you're a scary person, why are you in my house? If it's you moving, are you going to go to the fridge and get something delicious? Are you going to leave me, which is a disaster? So it's always important. So I would start by putting several little alarms on your phone or something. And then when the alarm goes off, you're just going to do some small movements. So say in the evening, you're watching TV or whatever. Teddy is having a nice chill out next to you or in a bed or wherever she likes to chill out. You're sitting there. And make the movements really small at first. So it can just be moving your hand. And you want to keep the movement small enough that she doesn't respond. She doesn't move at all. Stand up, sit down. If she responds to the stand up, you can just do that. I mean, I don't know how old you are, Elizabeth, but if you're anything like me, standing up can be a bit of a process. And it starts with a bit of a weight shift. So you could just do that weight shift. And if you can do that with people that she doesn't know as well, then that's even better. But if you do it with just you and whoever you've got living at home, that's going to help massively. So yeah, that's what I think.
Really good.
Cool.
Really good. That's a good tip. I need to do some more of that too. Because yesterday
Do you know what? So do I.
I was so happy. I was on the couch, and now I was on the couch with me on the one side, and Falky was on the couch with me on the other
Oh,
side.
beautiful. You were a Barbara sandwich.
Yeah, but you remember not so long this time last year?
Yep, so different.
It was a distant dream. Anyway, so that was jolly, jolly nice. So I was sitting there and I didn't dare to move because I didn't want any of them to get up and leave. So actually, because I know that, especially the youngsters, now are not so much, but the youngsters, right? I get up,
Yeah.
they what's happening. So there is this, everybody is chilled. Nobody move. Or when I was showing you Stevie earlier and you went, oh, there's Stevie. Hey, be quiet. Just think. So yeah, I need to do that. I need to actually do that. So then just ignore it.
Cool.
Cool. Awesome.
That'll do.
Yeah. What do you
We'll
think,
see
guys?
you. When have we got next week? We do have a time. I think we put a time in, did we? No, we haven't yet. Should we do same time next week? What do you reckon?
Oh.
Yeah, same time, same day.
Well, yeah, because last week was lonely.
Yeah, and it was just a bit of a weird week last week, so we're not going to do that again.
Awesome. Thanks, Edgy. Edgy says the link works now.
Yeah, should do. It was just because I changed the link to make it make more sense, and then I didn't save it. So it's me being an idiot. And trying to be too clever all in one go, which never works. Right, we will see you next week, lovely people. Yeah, keep chatting in the group.
Yeah, let us know how things are. And raise the roof again for Camilla and her big victory. Yeah.
Yeah, post more victories. We love those.
Yeah. Okay.
Super duper.
Thank you so much
yeah.
for joining us.
We'll see you then.
Bye.